Ohio State's running backs use spring ball to reload, refocus, and run with purpose.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Feel Good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And during today's show, we're going to discuss an upcoming change for ESPN's College Game Day, as well as if there are any concerns with the running back room. But first, Carlos Laughlin's room looks a whole lot different right now than it did this time a year ago, with Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins preparing to get drafted into the National Football League. They left a massive void in that room. The talent is still there. There's a lot of talent, young talent, and even older talent that Lachlan's going to use this year. But from C.J. Donaldson to James Peoples to Sam Williams-Dixon and others, there's talent up and down the room. And this unit used this time of year to build confidence, to raise the confidence level of the coaches and the fans in those athletes. Because the running backs this year, while the room looks different, I believe they're still going to be as efficient on the football field as they were a year ago. Think about the top two guys in the room. And I've kind of broken this room down into three separate categories, kind of A, B, and C. The A group is James Peoples and C.J. Donaldson. One of the two will start. And I'm kind of leaning towards Donaldson being the consistent starter. I haven't updated my depth chart yet. Kind of waiting to kind of get my thoughts in about a week after before making that move. But I see a scenario where Donaldson is a day one starter, and that's going to be for every single game. But the B group for Ohio State's running back room, Bo Jackson and Sam Williams-Dixon. And then the C group is Turbo Rogers and Isaiah West. That's Anthony Turbo Rogers. And even then in that C group, I can see a scenario where Turbo Rogers goes up to the B group and Isaiah West is the only scholarship running back in the C group. I didn't put TC Coffee in there. I think he would be in the C group. He wouldn't be in the D group with the others. But that's kind of where I am with the running backs. While there's a hierarchy in A, B, and C group for my own head, I do see a scenario where Bo Jackson is your third running back. How much fun would it be for Ohio State to have Peoples, Donaldson, and then to have Bo Jackson? I believe it's Lamar Bo Jackson to be exact, Bo being a nickname, not his middle name, to be the three-headed monster at running back. You got guys that are inexperienced, that haven't played a whole lot of ball. Got a guy in Donaldson who's a 2,000-yard rusher and his 3 years there in Morgantown. That combination is going to be great. But then you add in a young quarterback, which could scare some people, but that young quarterback is going to have the same tenure as some of the other running backs and other players on the team. They can use that youth as fuel. I mean, think about it. You have been a youngster before, or maybe you are a youngster now, and you use your youth at times to your advantage. First time on the job, or first day at practice, or it's your second year on a team, and you're on a team with the guys that have been there for 5 or 6 years. You can use your youth as fuel to say, I know y'all don't know me that well, or I know I'm the newcomer, but I'm going to show you what I can do. And with Peoples and Jackson, I'm just going to kind of assume right now that Jackson's above Williams-Dixon, and that Williams-Dixon is going to be more of a special teams guy this year than to be one of the top three backs used for Ohio State. That's going to be fun because in the fall, it's not like Texas can get film on Bo Jackson as far as college film. No. The best they can do is they get film from spring ball, but that's such a vanilla offense against a very even more vanilla defense. That's almost worthless. I won't say worthless because film is film. I don't know if there's such thing as a worthless film, but it does give you the true picture about what Bo Jackson is going to be as a football player because it wasn't a real game where both sides are scheming against each other. But this room right now, my confidence level with this room is a whole lot higher right now than I thought it was going to be. And I mean, that's credit to Lachlan. I know yesterday, at the end of yesterday's show, the Everydayers got a little look at the lawsuit, the civil suit that Oregon has right now with Carlos Laughlin. in regards to a breach of contract. Hey, your buyout is this amount. Did you give this amount? Well, half came from this source, half came from another source. One source was declined, and it's just a legal mess right now between Oregon, Lachland, and Ohio State. But while that's true, and Lachlan's dealing with that right now in his own off-the-field life, on the field for Lachlan, he's prepared for this moment. There's a lot of coaches out there that would see only one guy in the room that's had significant experience and everybody else is inexperienced, and they would say, well, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole because those guys right there, it's a lot of extra work. It's a lot of extra hours I got to put in, even off the football field, to try to figure out what works for these guys. Well, yes, that's true, but that's what you get paid to do. You get paid to figure out solutions, problems like this. You get paid to figure out how to utilize the talent in this room. Yes, you can't always go off of the film in college to figure out the best way to use somebody. Sometimes you got to figure out the way to use them based off the practice film or based off the things you saw in a scrimmage in the spring game. Whatever the case may be, you got to utilize that. I recently talked to the head coach of the Kokomo Bobcats. They're in the basketball league, and we talk weekly. We have a weekly show where we do every single week. And Chandler Livingston Simon is a phenomenal basketball coach, a youngster, about 30 or 31 years old, early 30s, coaching grown men and coaching guys that are his peers that he's even played collegiate basketball with or pro basketball with. And he is one that he's devoted to coaching. He has put the time in, watching the tape, doing stuff with early morning workouts or early morning practices to get the team ready for the upcoming games. But I asked him on this week's show, I said, hey, man, do you spend time with the players in one-on-one session? He's like, oh, yeah. And he talked about one guy, Corey Boyd, who jokingly will say, man, hey, man, I'm here with the kids, man, dunking and having a good old time. Is this my workout for the day? Is this my second workout? He's like, oh, no. This is only race that session. We got one a little bit later. But Chandler's understanding, it's his second year coaching the team, he is understanding the importance of figuring out ways to use all the talent, but also putting the time in, putting in that work. Not just what he did as a player, but as a coach too. You have to put in the work. And I know people have their various thoughts about Tony Alford because of where he went after he left Columbus, Ohio. I'm right there with you. But Tony Alford was the one that he figured out how to utilize the talent in the room and utilize it in a great way. Lachlan's doing the same thing, but a lot of you may have a higher confidence in Lachlan to do it over Alford because Lachlan's track record to even get to Ohio State, his path was different than Alford's. Lachlan put the work in. He grinded. It was a former cop. I mean, Lachlan's path to Ohio State, to even coaching college football, was so unorthodox. It makes him the coach he is and the man he is today. And I believe he's one of the correct people to work with a scenario work that Ohio State has, where Donaldson's the only experienced guy, but there's a lot of talent, a lot of guys that have different skill sets, and I believe Lachlan's going to find the right formula to tap into the players when they're on the field, so Ohio State's offense can hit on all cylinders. Well, the expectation is for Ohio State's offense to hit on all cylinders. There might be some concerns with the Buckeyes running back room right now after spring ball has concluded. We'll discuss if there are next. This episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your pair controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on Fire TV. With Wi-Fi 6/6E and auto low latency mode advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning-fast speeds you need to stay competitive. Play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. Already have a console? A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your games wherever you plug in. Head to Amazon.com/FireTV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. This episode is also brought to you by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. At Epicor, the All-Stars are the hard-working manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global vision, we'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most of every hard-working minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier takes the lead. Discover your success at www.easierwithepicor.com. That's www.easierwithepicor.com. Thank y'all for tapping Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. So now that spring ball has concluded, there are some questions that we had before spring ball that have been answered. There have also been some questions that we had before spring ball that we don't have answers to. In regards to the running back room at Ohio State, one of the biggest concerns we talked about earlier, but we're going to dive into a little bit deeper, is the inexperience in the room. Also, when you add a new running back to the running back room, you're also wondering how that guy is going to fit in with the players. That was a question before spring ball. And post spring ball, I have no doubt that CJ Donaldson is going to fit in very well with the culture at Ohio State. Because I don't think Lachlan would bring him in if he was going to be a problem. And you can't truly compare it to Judkins from a year ago, because Quinshon Judkins a year ago, there are people at Ole Miss that were talking bad about him. But Judkins also came to Ohio State when Tony Alford was a running back coach. And so for Lachlan to be here now, and we all know the type of coach he is, the no-nonsense kind of your uncle at the barbecue that's always keeping everybody in check, that's Carlos Laughlin. Lachlan's first guy he has brought in as a transfer is CJ Donaldson. And he seems like a great fit for Ohio State, almost a guy that you kind of wish played at Ohio State his entire career. It wouldn't have made sense for him to, because I don't think he was going to jump Mayan Williams at the time in the depth chart. I think he's going to be a better running back this year than Mayan Williams was during any single year that he really scored a grade. That's not a knock against Mayan Williams. That's just lifting up Donaldson to a different pedestal. I think that question has been answered. The culture fit, I believe, is exactly what you want with Donaldson. The other one that major question I don't have an answer to is how this inexperience is going to go in the season. And that's one that I would try to kind of speculate right now in April before the NFL draft next week to try to figure out where things sit, how a guy might fit in the fall. It's very hard to do that when 5 of your 6 scholarship running backs are very inexperienced. So inexperienced they have 0 starts under their belt. So inexperienced that some of them have as many touchdowns as a walk-on running back that didn't play last year. This room is talented. But to say I'm not concerned about the inexperience in the room would be false. 100% I am concerned with the inexperience in the room. And if you are, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you're a person that says the inexperience in the room at running back is not that big of a deal, okay. I've heard a lot of talking heads make that comment, and part of me wonders, if that's the case, why do coaches desire experienced running backs if inexperienced running backs playing on the field isn't a problem? There's a reason why. If you go into any project and you have no experience there, you're going to run into some issues. That's just human nature. Now, if you're doing a project and you run into some issues in year 3 of doing said project, what are you going to find? The issues you run into, they could be things you ran into before, and you know how to overcome an obstacle. So for this upcoming year, well, Lachlan is a guy that I do believe is going to be able to overcome the obstacle as a coach. But I have no idea how Peoples or Williams-Dixon are going to handle, even Bo Jackson, are going to handle some of the pressures that come to them in the fall. Let's say that the final two, Isaiah West and Turbo Rogers, turn themselves into being special teams guys for Ohio State as true freshmen. Do I know how they're going to handle the spotlight, the big stage, the bright lights that are there? Oh, the big old game day set that's going to be there too. Do I truly know how they're going to handle that? Absolutely not. I don't. Speaking of the game day set, that's coming up later in the show, as there's a massive change. It's coming to College Game Day in the upcoming season. And it's a change that is going to be there from here on out. That's all I'll say about that. Inexperience can be on your side and help you. It can also hurt you. Think about rookies in the NFL. It was very hard for teams to kind of try to scheme against C.J. Stroud during his rookie year because he didn't have tape on him. You say, Jay, they had tape when he was at Ohio State. Yes, when he was at Ohio State, they don't have pro film on him because the game is different, literally. It's football, yes. With the hash marks being wider in college versus where they are in the NFL, the game is different. Throws are different. A throw from the left hash to the right sideline in college, it's a whole lot different of a throw than from the left hash to the right sideline in the NFL. So those things are different. When you're going up against guys that are faster than you, when you could be the same speed as some guys, yeah, it's a whole lot different. When you're have a different, the cadence is different, the pace, the game is faster. You don't have game film. So there are some guys, they're freshmen, they're rookie season in the NFL or in the NBA. They play very well. And then they have a sophomore slump or a second-year slump because they got the film on them. Why do you think Stroud in year number 2 as a starter and Fields number 2 in year 2 as a starter, why do you think teams had an upper hand against them at times? Not all the time, but at times. Because they had a year's worth of film on those quarterbacks to figure out what they do well. Now, for Joe Burrow, year 1 as a starter at LSU, did some really good things. What was the kicker? When homie got to year 2 at LSU, he was playing at a different level. So even though they had film on him from year 1 as a starter, he took such a massive leap up that it wasn't nothing they could do to really slow him down. So for these running backs right now, I'm not saying they're going to be Joe Burrow year 1 at LSU when they're on the field. Hey, doing some good things, but still struggling. That's what I would expect from them when they get on the field. But I also don't expect, I expected to have some struggles and to really flop at times. I don't expect year 2 Joe Burrow when he was at LSU, where these young guys, Bo Jackson and Peoples and Williams-Dixon and others, where they get on the field and nobody can stop them. I don't expect that. Inexperience is huge. And I'm going to close this up with this. I really hadn't thought about this very much. I didn't put it in my notes, but maybe I should have. I expect Lachland to look hard at the portal right now. I mean, Cal had 4 running backs go to the portal. One of them being Jay Knott, committed to Oklahoma. Great landing spot for him. You can go from being a Cal Golden Bear to being an Oklahoma Sooner. I ain't mad at you at all. The NIL there is great. From what I've heard from one recruit's family member, the NIL there is great. It's a bigger brand. It's one of the blue bloods in the sport. And, I mean, it just makes sense. Now, do I think Lachlan's going to go for one of those guys out there? Probably not. Because those guys are trying to go out there and start now. If you come to Ohio State now, you're not going to start. You might be able to play, boost up, have some more of that leadership that's missing from the room. Being able to get out there and be a guy that can be a solid backup for Ohio State. But if you bring a guy in now, and let's just say it's the wrong guy. Let's be a little negative right now. I don't like being negative. One guy I know talked to me recently and talked about how I'm smiling all the time. And I don't like being negative, but I'm going to be right now because let's say a guy comes in and he ruffles the feathers and he's not a culture fit. What could that do? That could send somebody to the portal down the road, or that can mess up the chemistry that's currently in the room. It's also the positive, the flip side of this conversation. You bring somebody in and it works right off the bat. That's what I would expect to happen because Lachland, I believe, is right there with Ryan Day that you're only going to consider guys that are the right fit, that are the culture guys for Ohio State. And I expect that to happen if the Buckeyes do bring someone in. I'm not really high on them doing that, but if they do, I do expect the guy to be a culture fit from day one. There's a man that was a culture fit for ESPN College GameDay, the pregame show from day one. And unfortunately, Lee Corso has made a decision about his future with the premier pregame show in the sport. I'll tell you what that is next. Thank you all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. And I didn't mean to try to get a little emotional there before the break and almost get into a little somber mood, but Lee Corso has made the decision that after 38 years with ESPN's College GameDay, that now is a time for him to retire. I am 36. I didn't start being a college football fan until 10 or 12 years old. But even then, I didn't start to become a diehard college football fan until I was in high school. But even then, 10, 11, 12, I knew about what was going on in the latter part of the 90s at BCS. I was excited about that going into some of the bigger bowl games and then into the CFP. Even before I was a fan, Lee Corso became synonymous with college football. You can't tell the story of college football without Lee Corso. You can't tell the story of ESPN College GameDay without Lee Corso. And now the man that started the headgear to pick the winner of the premier game on that day is calling it quits. He's going to be 90. This final game on College GameDay will be week 1 of the upcoming season. Many of you will remember that Brutus was the first headgear that Lee Corso put on. And it could be the final headgear he puts on in his career. Week 1, August 30th. At least the date is August 30th, so we know it's going to be the day that Ohio State and Texas play. We could be seeing Lee Corso put on Brutus one last time. I don't know if that game's going to be in the shoe. It would be really odd if that game was not in the shoe with the history that Lee Corso and Brutus have together. But let's think about something really quickly because the man that has been perfect for College GameDay, to help build College GameDay to be what it is today, to help Kirk Herbstreit be great on television, is calling it quits. This is happening in the same year that over in the NBA, Hubie Brown called his final NBA game. And I've become such a casual NBA fan because finding Pacers games has been very, very hard. And also, I don't want to pay $20 a month to get FanDuel Sports Network. So that maybe that's my own doing. But I don't watch NBA as much as I used to. But I do watch Hubie Brown. And when I found Hubie Brown was doing a game, if I had the time, I would sit there, I would turn the game on, and I would get smarter. I would also be entertained, but I would get smarter. And with Lee Corso on the television, I would get smarter, but also I was entertained. And from this man being a guy that would be able to connect with fans from all over the country, from the deep south to fans like you and I here in Columbus, Ohio, or in the Midwest at various schools in the Big Ten, going out to the West Coast, to Southern California with, that Pete Carroll had that thing hot, or when Chip Kelly was over there in the Pacific Northwest, or think back to the Big East days, it did not matter. Lee Corso was great for the game, and he brought the type of entertainment that was needed for College GameDay. That show went from being a studio show to a show going on the road, you had to have a draw. Who was going to lure the people in? Yeah, Kirk Herbstreit had the analysis, and I don't remember the first host on the show, but I know that Chris Fowler was a phenomenal host on that show too. But at the end of the show, when they're picking their games before the game turns to the first game at 12 noon on ESPN. Everyone waited for Lee Corso's headgear pick for the day. Everyone. Myself, you did, everyone did. And it's really sad that his time is now. I believe it was a stroke recently, in the past 5 years. And you could tell when he wasn't on the show versus when he came back, his health was declining. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that he completed last season because it definitely seemed like he might not do it. Not that he was going to pass away, but that he may say, no, this is too much. But no, he is dedicated to the sport. And one thing about Lee Corso is that the headgear pick is synonymous with him, but the most worn mascot headgear by Lee Corso is Brutus at 45 times. Some of the other ones that are at the top of this list, Alabama, 38, LSU, 25, Florida with the Gator Chomp with 22, Oregon, 21, Florida State, 19, Oklahoma, 18, Texas, 18. That's really odd that the two rivals are tied there. And then USC, 17. Do I think there's a scenario where Lee Corso picks Texas against Ohio State so that Texas has 19, Oklahoma has 18? That's a possibility. Do I think a scenario that he goes with Brutus because that is truly his first love? That's also a possibility. While it's also true, while those things could be reality, it's just sad that he's gone, man. I mentioned something to my wife recently. I didn't really go into this entire thought, but I mentioned that I expect that ESPN is going to have Pat McAfee continue the tradition of maybe not putting on a headgear, but a Pat McAfee-esque dramatic game pick at the end, where he's done that a little bit with College Game Day. Sometimes I think he goes a little bit too Pat McAfee-ish, because I think there's a style that ESPN wants for that pick where they let Pat McAfee kind of do his own thing, where if he's a final pick, it fits more than if he's going before Lee Corso, because their styles are completely different. But I think they're trying to promote McAfee to be the next dramatic entertainer there. He's becoming a better analyst for college football too. He's definitely doing some homework, and he has a great research team. I don't expect him at all to watch all the games or to watch all the film all week. I don't expect that. But he has a great research team. He's doing really good with staying up with what's going on in college football. It's just sad. It's sad. I also miss, it's the part I didn't tell my wife that she doesn't really know David Pollack. I miss David Pollack on College Game Day. I really do. Talking about a guy in Hershey that brings great analysis. David Pollack does the same thing. So if you have Herbstreit and Pollack there together bringing analysis, those are two elite college football analysts on one panel. What more could you ask for? He's out there doing his own thing. He's independent now, and I really enjoy his stuff covering the sport. But, man, Lee Corso, he's gone. He's not gone yet. He's going to be up out of here really, really soon. Do you like College Game Day? I know it's been a big debate of late as Big Noon has been pushing their pregame show over the past few years. A lot of Ohio State fans have been drawn towards Big Noon's pregame show, the 10 to 12, before their Big Noon kickoff at 12 noon Eastern, versus some of us that are still drawn to College Game Day. It's a 3-hour pregame show before going into the 12 noon game there on the big ESPN. I'm curious, what side of the fence are you on? Are you on the ESPN College Game Day pregame show vibe, or are you on the vibe of Fox's Big Noon? Not only do I get nostalgic, but one of my biggest draws toward ESPN is literally audio sounds better. They may say, Jay, like, you're not using your traditional audio right now, for obvious reasons. We mentioned it before, but my wife and I are buying a house, and that's one of the things in the budget that has been pushed off a little bit. But yeah, no, the audio sounds better. 100% better on ESPN. I'm not saying Fox's audio sounds bad, but ESPN sounds better. It's also the same sound that's on ESPN all day long. It's also what we've grown up with. So when something new comes in, while there's something new may be really, really good and fit what you want at the time, you might still be stuck with what you know. I mean, TV shows throughout the day as I'm home doing work or doing some stuff with my son, I watch a lot of older TV shows that I've watched once or twice. I'm currently in the midst of rewatching The Flash on the Netflix. If I'm watching stuff on the YouTube TV, I may rewatch a game that's there that I recorded, or Family Matters, or Boy Meets World, or The Fresh Prince, or a Tyler Perry TV show, House of Pain. That's really the only one I've watched before. I like older stuff. It's what I'm used to. It's what I'm comfortable with. The same thing goes with the ESPN College Game Day. I'm also comfortable with Lee Corso being on the game show, on the pregame show. It's gonna be weird not seeing him there on the side on the pregame set, week 2, week 3, and beyond the upcoming college football season. And it's a change you knew was coming. I just didn't know it was going to come right now. Thank y'all for tapping the Locked On Buckeyes right here on a Friday and making this show your first listen of the day. Make sure you make your second listen the Locked On NBA Draft, because NFL Draft, our words are kind of all over the place right now. The Locked On NFL Draft, because the NFL Draft is right around the corner next Thursday through Saturday. Over 250 names will be called as players' dreams come true as they're drafted into the National Football League. There are going to be at least 15 Buckeyes get drafted next week, and Locked On NFL Draft is a place to get up to date and to get prepared for that annual event. You can find the Locked On NFL Draft or the Locked On Buckeyes podcast on the YouTube or wherever you listen to your fine podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. It's been Locked On Buckeyes right here on a Friday. We'll see you next time.